Welcome to ACF ChefsForum. We appreciate you joining us during this journey to explore the latest food and beverage trends and learn about some of the most unique trending foods and flavors. Now, more than ever, and especially during this difficult time, it's important for culinarians to connect, to share, and to offer inspiration and mentorship, which is exactly why we're excited to have Chef Jorge Cespedes here with us with important information just for you, the leaders of the food service industry. Before we begin, as a note, we'll be taking questions from you, the viewers, as we are able. Please use the chat function to collaborate with other viewers and the Q&A function to pose questions directly to our guest chef. Let's get the discussion going on the chat by telling us where you're tuning in from today. I'm Jackie Pressinger, American Culinary Federation's Director of Strategic Partnerships, and I'm honored to introduce our guest chef today, Chef Jorge Cespedes, Culinary Director of the Marlin Network. And at this point, I'll pass the presentation over to you. Thank you for joining us today, Chef.
Hi, Jackie. Thank you so much for inviting us for this ChefsForum webinar. And I want to thank everybody that was able to find some time during their day to just show up for this 1-hour presentation. Hopefully something fun and relaxing. We're going to talk about flavors. We're going to talk about trends. We're going to talk about how to use those flavors and trends. And then at the end, I'm going to go through a quick cocktail recipe, which hopefully we can send out to all of you guys that are interested in having it, and then some Q&A. So here, let's begin. All right. So welcome. This is the Food and Beverage Flavors and Trends presented by the Alchemedia Project and Flavor Atlas. Once again, we're going to say hello. We're going to talk about some really cool flavors and a cocktail demo with some Q&A at the end. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Costa Rica. You know, without realizing, I was able to enjoy some of the best fruits and vegetables and just mind-blowing flavors than one can think of. And I was slowly falling in love with food. It wasn't until I became an adult and I was finishing my marketing degree that I realized that food was everything for me. So I went to culinary school at Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island. And that was by far maybe the best decision I've ever made in my life. It was amazing. I was in a world where these culinary legends and just people so knowledgeable were just walking the hallways and I could pick their brain all day long. So through culinary school and through working in restaurants, I realized that I love food, but I don't love, the passion isn't in making food every day, it's the story behind food. It's the story of where every ingredient comes from. Who grows those ingredients? Where do they grow? And why do they taste the way they do? So when I say that every ingredient has a story, you know, there's so many steps behind each ingredient. And that's what we get to do at the Alchemedia Project every day. My title of Culinary Content Director focuses on, hey, how do we tell the story of a dish or an ingredient or just a product that has so much background, and we get to do it in so many different ways, right? Sometimes that's through social media and we're presenting it with really cool photography or just really nice high-end videos. The whole idea is let's tell the right story to the right people about the right ingredient. That is called The Art of Food. It's a video we created because we wanted to express how much we love food and how much we respect the people behind it. You saw bakers, you saw baristas, you saw chefs, you saw bartenders doing what they do best, using the best ingredients out there to create amazing things. It's the art of food, and that is what Marlin Network does. Mainly, we have 3 agencies. I work for the Alchemedia Project. We have Marlin Agency and CSSI, which is a culinary agency with over 20 very highly qualified chefs. Those guys really know food. And as you can tell, we've been doing this for a long time. We do it with a lot of people, and there's a big bunch of us, and we love what we do. So on that note, I want to get in deeper into how we get to know these ingredients. And that's the Flavor Atlas. The Flavor Atlas was created because we needed to find a way to track ingredients, to just, understand their journey through the world of food. Where did they come from? Where did they pop up first? Was it at a high-end, tiny little bakery in Brooklyn, New York? And 5 years later, it was in every menu at a Starbucks? Yeah, most likely that's how that happened. And that journey is fascinating. And at certain points of that journey, we all get to play with that ingredient. And that's the fun part. So here's a quick little video of what the journey of an ingredient can look like.
An ingredient is born with the potential to change the flavor of the world. A flavor amongst others which embarks on a journey to tell a story about food, imagination, and culinary pleasure. These flavors called trends emerge from the most creative corners of our mind, inspired by our dreams, our goals, and the very human instinct of curiosity. Such trends and stories become popular because they're being mapped by modern-day culinary cartographers, by chefs, mixologists, baristas, farmers, growers, and artists. A collection of adventurous travelers who seek and carve a path for us to navigate the world of flavor. And sometimes, we get to taste these flavors in the most unique ways possible. A perfectly balanced concoction meant to send your mind on a trip around the world and back. Until one day, we discover that this unique taste, that this extravagant flavor, always on a constant change, is right at our fingertips, ready to be explored. This is the Flavor Atlas by Marlin Network.
All right. So while this graphic goes on, let me just talk about that video because I love it. Every time I watch it, it just kind of gives me the thrill because we see a farmer, she has all these ingredients. Then we see that the ingredients move to a chef and he's washing them. He creates this amazing looking dish, beautiful. Then that ingredient kind of rolls off the board to a bartender's hand where he's making a cocktail with chinar, which ironically I'm using today. No relationship to that. It just kind of happened like that. I love the thing. And then finally, we see that same kind of flavor in a bottle, in a shelf, in a little store. And that's kind of the journey that a flavor can take. So to explain how we use the Flavor Atlas, how we explain it is a proprietary trend tracker that helps us and our partners leverage emerging trends and flavors. So you have market evidence. That is everything we find out there, right? What's on menus? How many times do people use it? Where do we taste it? Like I said before, maybe a cute little bakery in Brooklyn. Then you have consumer chatter. Like, what are people talking about? Are people going crazy over sriracha? Yeah, they were like 8 years ago. And then they were about yuzu. And then they were about black garlic. I mean, there's so many flavors that people just love. And then you have creative culinary observation. What does that mean? We have a bunch of chefs. We have a bunch of knowledgeable people that travel, well, when we can travel, the country and the world, and we're just paying attention to all of it. You can also travel through social media and online and learn a lot of stuff. But we're always looking for those flavors, for those trends. What's the new thing? How did they use it? Guys, the chef at this restaurant put it in the ice cream. Oh my God, so exciting. So that gives us 3 areas that we focus on. The emerging category, ready for trial. They're being born. We're discovering the flavors. Then you have becoming popular. This is what we call the opportunity flavors, because pretty much most of us want to play there. And then finally, we have mainstream. And that is everyday flavors. By the time a flavor becomes mainstream, we all know it. That is, sriracha in every table instead of Tabasco or anything like that, right? Everybody knows that hot sauce by now. So what does it look like? And this is just one of the examples that we do. Here are 3 columns of just flavors. And I just love focusing on each of these. You have things like Induja or, rhubarb. That's not a new flavor. We've been using it for hundreds of years, but it's kind of new for the industry in the way it's being used right now. Chichito peppers. Again, I've been seeing those in menus for 5 years already, but chefs keep making it more and more interesting to use. In the becoming popular, you find things like harissa. Again, harissa, we moved it from one to the other category-wise because I think it's definitely on the move. It hasn't stopped being on the move for a very long time. Middle Eastern cuisine. I mean, we're obsessed with some of these spices. I see satar in every menu now, thank God, because I love the thing. And it's delicious, right? And we're exploring it. And there's still people asking, what is that? I've never had that. I've never smelled that. I've never tasted that. And for some people in other parts of the world, is the most common thing, like saying salt and pepper. Tahini, turmeric, just a lot of fun flavors. And then as you can tell in mainstream, we have flavors that we all know and love. And they're still trending like crazy. Like avocado, oh my God, we ate more avocados last year than ever before. And we love them. Why not? Braised meats, dill pickle, Greek yogurt. There's so much stuff that we already know and we keep loving it. So those are gonna stay there because our industry is obsessed with it. We also created some formats, larger ways of conversation, right? So, for example, inventive pastry. I've had some pastries that are mind-blowing. You have certain named baker in New York City that created a cronut and people went crazy for it. That's a great example of that. Or in the becoming popular, modern mocktails. Before you would get, some sort of soda dish, a soda with some sort of syrup, and they'd be like, hey, here's your mocktail. Now you have delicious, sometimes even better than cocktails. These concoctions that are so good for you and easy drinking, and we love them. They're becoming popular, of course they are. And then in the mainstream formats, you have things like breakfast all day. I hope that one never goes away. I wanna have eggs at any time of the day. Or obviously delivery blew up last year and it's still very strong. Who knows? That's changing the way we do things right now. We don't even know what that's gonna look like in 1 year, but we know it's gonna be very strong. We have things like portability and the importance of the to-go dish. Now more than ever, we need to think of food that way. It's no longer, take it out of the kitchen, serve it immediately, it has to be hot. It has to be more about, will it hold for 20 minutes until they get home and serve it and still delicious? That's important. So let's get more into these flavors. We have these things, these amazing, beautiful things. Main squeeze, it's all about citrus. Global adventure, you can imagine what that's about. Turn up the heat, spicy food. A little funky, fermentation, anything like that. Functional fuel, anything that is now very popular, category that keeps growing, like protein shakes, or the way we're seeing powdered protein on everything. Protein is the big word on labels now. Conscious consumption is the way, foods that are not only good for us, but good for the world. And vegetables take the lead because yum. But I've had some of the best dishes this year, and they were a carrot dish, or a roasted cauliflower dish with satar and a beautiful green dressing on top. Just delicious food that are all about the vegetable. But today we're going to focus on only three: main squeeze, global adventure, and turn up the heat. So let's get into it. Main squeeze. What are we talking about here? Citrus. You know, it's just people want more options of citrus. Why not? They're so delicious. It's my favorite smell ever. It's lemon zest. No matter what happens, lemon zest makes everything good. So what are some emerging flavors here? Calamansi, kaffir lime, pomelo, tangerine. We're gonna use tangerine in our cocktail today. Preserved lemons. And again, these aren't new things. These are just the ways that we're using them now. Becoming popular. Blood orange. Oh my God. Yuzu. We were obsessed with yuzu 3 years ago. I made cocktails, I made mocktails, I made all sorts of stuff with yuzu. Love it. And look at the numbers here. Yuzu has grown over 39% on menus in the US in the past 4 years. That's huge. And consumers rank tangerine, blood orange, and some other uniquely flavored lemonades in the top 3 main squeeze flavors. Yum, who doesn't love that, of course. So let's see what's going on out there. Peet's Coffee, this is super cool, in my opinion. I'm a coffee lover, so why not? They have a cold brew layered with sweetened condensed milk, yum, real yuzu citrus puree, and then some half and half. That's super cool. The idea of finding the right blend of coffee to pair well with the flavor of a Japanese citrus called yuzu is fantastic. And of course, you're balancing this with the sweetness of the condensed milk. Super cool also, the Butcher's Daughter in New York City, brulee pink grapefruit with ginger lime yogurt, cherry pecan granola, and torn mint. Wow. First of all, brulee pink grapefruit. That's so ingenious. I've never had that. I would love to try that. Can we get on a plane yet? Can I travel now? And then one of the coolest ones here at OEA in Boston, you have a frozen yuzu and lime marshmallow with a toasted meringue and yuzu zest. Yeah, in every way, that sounds fantastic. So there's just so many different uses for this. Even things like the calamansi beverage, you can buy this, I believe it's at Trader Joe's, but it's just it's a juice ready to drink made of calamansi. It's just a different kind of lemonade idea. Okay, global adventure. I mean, come on. We are in the best moment for global adventure. You can put anything together if it makes sense from a flavor perspective, and people are okay with it. We're mixing Japanese with Mexican. We're mixing Lebanese with Southern United States cuisine. I mean, the mixture possibilities are endless, guys, and people want it. So much to talk about. Oh my God. Filipino cuisine, Hawaiian cuisine, just beyond putting pineapple on anything, let's get in there. Things like ponzu varieties, shishimi tagarashi, just, so much flavor there. That's an emerging. Becoming popular, African cuisine. Harissa, Ras El Hanout, a great seasoning blend. Satar, okay, I'm a little obsessed with Satar because I put it on everything. And I am not joking, I'm obsessed with this thing. Peruvian cuisine, maybe my favorite cuisine. I had that last night, loved it. I cannot get enough of ají amarillo on every meal that I can. And the way they use flavors over there is just fascinating. Gochujang, Latin American cuisine, said the Latino over here. But again, it's just, I love when I see these uses of, maybe a sweet plantain from Dominican Republic, and they're using it in ways we have never seen before with, Northern African flavors and in a technique that is clearly very French. So it's just, possibilities are endless. I'll give you a great example here. 83% of foodies and 54% of the rest of the population say that they're always looking for different cultural experiences and influences that will broaden their horizons. And what better way than doing that through food? So some of the top 3 global adventure cuisines are Hawaiian, Latin American, and Mediterranean. Yes, the flavor is there. There's so much flavor in all of those. They're fascinating. I want to live in those 3 cuisines for the rest of my life. So let's see what's in the marketplace. I love the fact that a big chain like Shake Shack is getting into the thing, right? So you have a Korean style fried chicken. It's an LTO, it's a sandwich, and it has a gochujang glaze over this crispy chicken breast, topped with sesame seeds over a white kimchi slop. You are coming at this from everywhere in Asia. This is a representation of a fried chicken sandwich with so many flavors from Asia. I love the Common Good cocktail. Their cocktail is called Plenty of Green. And the most interesting thing here is that it uses sotol, which is a very unique Mexican spirit. We're talking about, if you think mezcal is new, sotol is mezcal's cousin's best friend's daughter that you barely see, and it's super earthy and unique. And what these guys did is that they grabbed that Mexican spirit and they put it in the world of Asia with using, jenepi, coconut milk, pandan, brown sugar, soju, and lime. And that has to be fantastic. It makes sense. And then last but not least, let's talk about heat. Turn up the heat, we call it, because, I don't know, everybody wants a little spice in their life, especially in food. And the cool thing now that we discover more and more peppers is that there's so many options for us to turn up that heat in our personal cuisine and in menus. So, some of the emerging flavors, Induja. Oh my God, I love Induja. Okay, I discovered Induja at culinary school. I kind of became obsessed with it. I mean, I put it on lots of things, like a cream pasta or just Induja with bread. I mean, come on, it's delicious. But it's, again, an Italian spreadable salami that has so much fat and so much flavor. And it's spicy. And it's just beautiful to use. So please, go play with Induja. Chichito peppers, again, I would say every other menu has an appetizer with chichito peppers. But if we learn something today here is that, and chichito peppers aren't even that spicy. But the cool thing is that they have the shape of a pepper, they're super easy and delicious to eat, and then you can top it off with a sauce from any other part of the world. Global adventure. Use some of the citrus we talked about. There's so much out there. It could be a tahini-based sauce, with maybe yuzu. I mean, we're mixing all these things, Mediterranean, Japanese, just fun stuff. And becoming popular, I was talking about ají amarillo earlier from Peru. One of my favorite things about ají amarillo is that it's, besides beautiful in color, it has a lot of flavor. A lot of other peppers are just hot. They're very present, they're in your face, and they're like, hi, I'm here, I'm super hot. Ají amarillo is like, I'm here, I look amazing, and I'm also super hot, and I taste delicious. One of the things I love it. Things like gochujang and harissa, great as basis for, maybe introducing people to these peppers from a creamy sauce perspective. Making sure it's balanced with a lot of citrus. There's just so much opportunity out there, right? We can see that 42% of consumers have ordered emerging and mainstream global flavors from a restaurant since the pandemic began. And those flavors most likely have a lot of spice in them. And not a surprise, but some of the most popular spicy flavors on menus include jalapeno. Yes, people love jalapeno. Buffalo, because it's a sauce that's very well known. And then chipotle, which is smoked and slowly cooked jalapenos. And that's another thing I am very much obsessed with. My latest thing is mixing chipotle, orange juice, and peanut butter. Yes, delicious. I know. And guys, oh my God, I put that on chicken. I marinate pork in it. I'm obsessed with it. So good. So let's see what's going on in the market. Great examples here, by the way. So Zoe's Kitchen, a fast casual chain, They have a power grain bowl that includes lentils, quinoa, farro, so multiple ancient grains, very healthy, and rice, with a house-made tzatziki sauce, yogurt base, Moroccan harissa, spice, and a Mediterranean relish, cucumbers, and fresh dill. Yes, healthy, delicious, beautiful, full of color. Just the color of food is so important. I'm obsessed with this thing. I mean, Momofuku, David Chan, you can't go wrong with him. You know, these beautiful seared shrimp buns are flavored with a spicy mayo, which is a mixture of chili, garlic, vinegar, and kipi, mayo. I'm sure I'm slaughtering that word. Pickled red onions and some iceberg lettuce. So again, he gives you fermentation, some pickling, some vinegary, lettuce is a little bit cooling, and then you have the crispy shrimp and the beautiful mayo. Landry's, which is a casual dining chain, has a chipotle pineapple margarita. Another great thing. Margarita, #1 cocktail in the world. Chipotle and pineapple, those guys are best friends. Sweet, it's spicy, it's smoky. There's depth, but there's also freshness. It uses, let's see, tequila, disaronno, a chipotle pineapple syrup, which, by the way, simple syrup is one of the easiest ways to introduce new flavors to a cocktail. It is, you know, it's just easy. You can infuse it for several minutes. You can sous vide simple syrups, and it's just incredible the amount of flavor they get. They finish this with fresh lime juice and then a spicy Tajín salt rim, which is the Mexican blend of chili and lime. And then last but not least, Avec, which is a delicious restaurant in Chicago. They have Brussels sprouts. Side note, by the way, maybe the #1 appetizer right now, you know, love them. People are frying them, throwing all sorts of crazy stuff on them. Love that trend. Panzanella with golden raisin mostarda. Again, opportunity right there. Mostarda is showing up a lot. Go look at it. Golden raisin, great, healthy way to bring in sweetness. Then a Calabrian chili and aged Parmesan. So much going on there. All sorts of flavors, Mediterraneans, of the Mediterranean, put together in a super unique dish. So, we're gonna do a demo, but before that, I know we have a quick little question to ask the audience. All right. So we have a winner, black garlic. Well, good choice, guys, because it's delicious. Okay, I have I'm gonna stop sharing screen. I hope that's right with our producer. Super cool option. So, okay, so black garlic was everybody's #1 choice. Yes, I love that. I'm a little bit kind of into halibut lately, just Alaskan wild-caught halibut. And the other day, I was having, you know, the usual dreams of food that one has at all points of the day. And I was thinking a black garlic brown butter halibut over a roasted cauliflower puree. Sounds so good for dinner tonight. And I went home and I made it, and guys, it was so good. Here's the cool thing, black garlic, you can find it anywhere now. I'm not joking. I went in the supermarket and I bought from one of the largest spice companies out there, a little container of black garlic, like it was nothing. Like I was buying salt or pepper or whatever. So it's easy to find, super easy to use. Remember, it's very umami. It just brings out all these other flavors. So play with it and then go have fun with that black garlic. I also like the fact that a lot of you voted for Nduja, because again, it's really worth it. Have I put it in a cocktail? You know, maybe, maybe not. I'm not gonna get too specific about that. Let's just make a cocktail, shall we? Okay, I've been talking for a long time. I'm gonna take a sip here of my sparkling water. So this cocktail, I'm super passionate about. I wanted to, first of all, bring forward a cocktail that was low ABV. Why? Because it's one of the biggest trends right now. They're very flavorful. You don't lack flavor because there's less alcohol in it. You might even find more flavor. And the good thing is that they're delicious, and you can have more cocktails while you're, hanging out with your friends than before, because these are lower ABV, lower alcohol. So let's talk about ingredients. The first ingredient I want to use is oloroso Spanish sherry. I wanted to use a cocktail that had sherry in it because it's I'm very passionate about it, but it's also kind of a trending spirit. More and more, and I would say in the past 3 years, we've seen bartenders really kind of bring it back. There's a lot of flavor. Sherry has a spectrum, the entire spectrum in the wine world. It has maybe the driest white wine ever, called Fino Sherry. I mean, dry. Go try it. It's fantastic. It's also really unique because this wine, you know how white wine and oxygen air are not friends. It'll oxidize it. It's not good. Fino in Andalusia, which is where they make sherry, they don't even fill the barrel all the way up because there's this little blanket of bacteria that grows on top of the wine and protects it from ever oxidizing. It's a fascinating wine. It might also have to do, with the area, with the air, just so much stuff there. Again, the history of an ingredient. Andalusia, right in the southern tip of Spain, in the coast. Some say in a clear day, you can see the north of Africa from Andalusia. And they're known for sherry and some of the best horses in the world. We're going to use the sherry. So you go from Fino, very dry wine, to what is called Pedro Jimenez, or industry people call it PX, which is the sweetest sherry ever. It's so sweet that it's a dessert thing. It's almost not even drinkable. I just pour it over desserts, mostly ice. But in the middle, you have a lot of other sherries that have a lot of flavor. In this case, we're going to use oloroso, which means kind of a strong smelled sherry. It has this nuttiness, just a very interesting, I don't know, like you've been chewing on Marcona almonds for a while, and it just kind of stays there. So that's going to be our main spirit, followed by Cynar. Cynar is an Italian Amaro. What does that mean? It means it's a bitter liqueur. Historically, Amaros were used by the moms and the grandmas of each town, and that's how they were cured everything. Your belly aches, have some Amaro. Your headaches, have some Amaro. Broke a leg, have some Amaro. That one didn't work, but they still gave them Amaro. And it's delicious. The main ingredient, ironically, is artichoke leaves. Don't worry, it doesn't taste like artichoke leaves in a bottle. It's bitter, it's sweet, it's very dark. It's a really cool spirit. I love it. I also drink a lot of Cynar and tonics. There's something about that Amaro sweetness with the quinine that just makes sense. Delicious. And then, we talked about trending citruses. So we have tangerine juice, we have lemon juice, and then we're going to finish it with a sparkling grapefruit mineral water. In this case, I'm using Topo Chico because I just love how much effervescence this brand has, and just a very natural flavor. So let's get started. We're going to jump into our recipe. It uses 1.5 ounces of Jerez. Oh, this flavor is so good. 1.5 ounces of Jerez or sherry. We're gonna use 1 ounce of Chinar. You can tell how dark that spirit is. Beautiful. Now, one of the most trending citruses at the moment is tangerine. So we're gonna use 2 ounces of tangerine juice. I squeezed this right before the demo, so it's very, very flavorful, delicious. And the color it's gonna give us is gonna be awesome. I use 1/2 ounce of very also freshly squeezed lemon juice and 1/4 ounce of homemade simple syrup. Now, talking about simple syrup, most store-bought simple syrup is very sweet. It uses a ratio of 2 to 1, 2 sugar to 1 water. So to keep it simple, 2 cups of sugar to 1 cup of water. And that's very sweet. They're too sweet and they're overused. So normally when I make mine, it's just 1 to 1, 1 cup of water to 1 cup of sugar. And then whenever I want to, or whenever I need to, that's the perfect time to infuse it with more flavors. Okay, so we're gonna shake this. I'm gonna get my ice. And the reason why we shake a cocktail in this case is because it's fruit juice based. And every time you're doing a fruit juice based beverage, it has to be shaken. All the other ones are stirred. So make sure you close your shaker real good. And then we're gonna shake until this is so cold that I can barely hold. Okay. It's really cool because as you're shaking and the ice is starting to create that emulsion and little pieces of it is breaking, even though I'm using pretty big cubes, you start to feel the consistency of the cocktail change. So I'm gonna get my glass. In this case, I wanted to use kind of a tall, simple Collins glass. It's gonna look way prettier. I'm gonna put it to the top. See? Okay. Ice. Let's strain this. Always double strain. You want to use this strainer and this strainer. Large chunks, little chunks. There we go. I just love the color of this cocktail. Okay, so we're here. We're gonna finish it off with a little bit of our sparkling water. So normally I measure it just to make sense of it and to be clear that I'm not overdoing it, but I'm gonna put 4 ounces of sparkling water. You could also just top it off. But look how pretty that is. You know, it starts very dark in the bottom and it gets lighter, of course. So I like to use my bar spoon and just give it a quick stir, just to make sure that we are really well balanced in the drink. And it took me a while to think of a name for this cocktail. And my coworker that helped me put together this presentation, you know, I sent her a few photos and kind of a description, and we were talking about it, and I was something about the Mediterranean. And then she came with a very clever idea to, hey, the main spirit here is from Andalusia, so we need to do homage to the area. So this cocktail is called the Andalusian Sunset. And I thought it was such a beautiful name that we have to use. So that's what this cocktail is called. I love the way it looks. Excessive cleaning here. I guess that's what we do when we go to culinary school. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Andalusian Sunset. Let me make sure it tastes right. Yep. So here's the cool thing. This is just kind of for the body. It is all about the sherry and the tangerine. And it's very refreshing. Again, it's low ABV. This is going to become your summer's favorite cocktail. Very refreshing, very easy drinking. And the nuttiness that I talked about when it came to that sherry is everything that's left in your palate. And it's just absolutely delicious. So that was our flavor presentation. That's our cocktail demo. And if we're going to open the floor for questions, I believe.
Wonderful. Well, that cocktail looks spectacular. I wish I could grab it through the screen. Thank you so much for such an informative and fun presentation. And we do have several questions from our chefs who are viewing today. One of the questions was, I'm wondering if you could go a little bit in depth about how you determine which of the 3 categories of flavor is listed in. And that was, you know, if they're emerging versus mainstream.
Yes. So again, we do a lot of research on, let's say we start noticing a flavor on some menus. Very little, you know, hey, I had a dinner at a really nice high-end restaurant the other day, and one of the let's pick one. One of the flavors that the chef used was yuzu, and I never heard of that before. Have you heard of that before? So it becomes this little chef chatter within our company. And again, our culinary agency CSI has a lot of chefs that are all very knowledgeable in very different areas. So we do our research and we start looking for that flavor. Well, we realize it's just being born, right? It's just emerging in our industry, in the market. So for now, we say, we're gonna put it here and we're gonna see where it grows. Sometimes that flavor never moves. Some chefs were experimenting with some, you know, citrus that they brought back from Asia. It was getting kind of hot, and, you know, they were all using it in San Francisco, and then it dies. You know, 6 months later, they get tired of it, or they can't find it in the US, and the flavor goes away. It's those times when the flavor just kind of grows legs and runs, and it can't run on its own. Other chefs have to pick it up, but everyone else, right? We have to be able to buy it here. There has to be distribution. It has to be fresh. It has to be high quality. And that's when the flavor really kind of runs through the spectrum of going from emerging to becoming popular. Again, we're seeing it now, not only on the West Coast, it's hitting East Coast and some kind of larger markets, maybe down in Texas, Chicago, kind of that area. And then emerging, of course, I'm gonna be able to go to Starbucks and have a yuzu milkshake. And that's kind of how that works.
Excellent. Thank you very much for explaining the process. One of the other chefs has asked, besides bread, do you have a favorite use of Induja?
Yes, that is a very good question. Okay. Man, there's so many uses for it because it's a spreadable salami. So think about that. All of a sudden, you can just mix it into a lot of things. One of my favorite uses is a cream sauce for a pasta, right? So one of those days where you're inspired to maybe make your own pasta and everything is going great, wine is flowing for inspiration, and then you grab the Induja, you kind of cut the tip, and it just spreads out. I'm not joking. You start with your cream sauce and you add it in, and you whisk that baby right in there, and it creates this beautiful colored, kind of pinkish, depending on your ratios, or reddish. It's a very red product. Beautiful cream sauce. It's great for one of the best dressings I ever made was an Induja vinaigrette. And I just went basic. I went very French style vinaigrette, you know, mustard, honey, anchovy paste, Induja, and then lemon juice, salt, pepper, whisk some of that olive oil, and you're in. The thing is, it's gonna be a chunky vinaigrette, so you have to be okay with that. But then the flavor there is amazing. And there's just, imagine how many, think of when you use chorizo or sausage in recipes, you could easily do that with Nduja, and it's just a whole new spectrum of flavors.
Wonderful. And I see some of the chefs collaborating as well with some of their ideas to add to your ideas as well in the chat, which is great. Another question we had received in advance was, I'm wondering if you might know of any common mistakes that chefs make when they're trying to implement new trends on one of their menus, or things that they might avoid.
Sure. So one of the, maybe I'll talk about, so to me, one of the biggest mistakes is when us chefs are trying to bring in something new, and because it's a new ingredient and it's a new flavor, people might not know about it. We create this spectacular dish for it. You know, it's this, again, like we saw there. If yuzu were emerging now, and all of a sudden you create this yuzu marshmallow with a meringue and all these crazy things, people are gonna be like, what is that? I don't even know I don't understand this. So what I always recommend, and what I've seen be a success, is go with familiar dishes that you can incorporate these flavors to, right? So if our restaurant is known for our fried chicken sandwich, and what we could do is either change the slaw or change the aioli or whatever sauce you use on it, do it that way, right? So people already know you for your chicken sandwich. Use that as leverage, and then introduce the new flavor that way. For hot sauces, one of the easiest way to do that is breakfast, because people already like hot sauces during breakfast. So you say, hey, here's our typical 2 options, but we want to introduce you this, crazy new thing called ají amarillo from Peru, and with a little bit of spiel from your wait staff, they'll sell it. And it's, again, you're making sure that the flavor works with your normal dishes. If it's some sort of hash with fried eggs on top, hey, how about you let us kind of cook the eggs in a little bit of harissa oil, or ají amarillo oil, or ají amarillo paste, which is how you normally find that pepper. So it's just, my biggest recommendation here is use methods that you're already known for, that people already love, and introduce the flavor that way. Then play with it as much as you can, because they already know it, they already love it, and then you can just start mixing it all through the menu.
That's excellent advice. Thank you very much. One of the other questions that had come in about how do you differentiate between an ingredient that's getting good media coverage and an actual trend?
Sure, great question. So one of the things that will always determine that is, are we seeing it in menus, right? Because there's trendy ingredients that they could just be a social media trend. It could have started by an influencer, and it'll die in 3 to 4 weeks. But when you start seeing ingredients in menus, and we look into this, right? You can easily do this research. You see the usage of that word more and more and more and more. And that tells you that a lot of chefs are starting to incorporate it more in their menu. What that also tells us is that the machine of the food service industry is working together, and that ingredient is now inside that machine. So you have importers, you have distributors, and you have chefs and consultants working on how to use that ingredient more. So that's kind of a cool thing, because it's like unofficially we all got together and say, hey, let's start using this ingredient more. And it's pretty cool. The guys over at Pastry have been using it apparently for 5 years, and now we want to throw it in cocktails, and we want to throw it in the main menu for the restaurant. The best part is our distributor can get it for us, easy access, and I hear they're going to start growing it in California. So it's one of those things that you know when an ingredient is going to stay, because the entire machine is working to make it stay.
Very interesting. Wow. And great question as well. this is a little bit of a tough one, but I was wondering, this is a question that we received in advance, if you had any early predictions about how food service menus might continue to change moving forward due to the pandemic.
Yeah, very good question, of course. That's I love that question. I'm very good friends with certain chefs that have small restaurants. They're not part of a chain. And I'm always asking them questions like that. A friend of mine here in town told me that, and this was on Friday of last week, that, I mean, for a while there, to-go was the only thing he was working on. And obviously, he reduced his menu to sell from 25 options to about 8 or 10. He put his top selling dishes. And then he started thinking, well, okay, if this is what we're doing now, I'm gonna do 9 of my best selling dishes, and I'm gonna start introducing one new dish that I can play with. And the idea of that is it keeps my menu, it keeps refreshing my menu, and people don't get bored with it. I mean, you need to captivate your audience even more now. And a lot of these restaurants, thank God, they're starting to open again. So again, they're playing with, here's our strong suit. This is the part of the menu we, kick ass. We're gonna introduce a whole new part of the menu because people are coming out of this and they want new, but also they want comfort and they want the stuff that used to bring them all the time. If you're known for your fish and chips, man, do not take that away, but give me some new salads, maybe some new sauces for the fish and chips that are super interesting, and keep them going. The other thing is, why would we ever get away of this awesome new side of the industry that is just takeout and delivery? It's huge, right? We cannot let that go. Bar owners are loving the fact that now they can sell to-go cocktails. They can put it in a bottle and sell it like if they had a retail store. And the law in a lot of cities are okay. They're changing the law so they can do that. So there's a whole new side of revenue that they didn't know pre-pandemic. I mean, maybe they thought about it, but it was illegal and it's more difficult and we have to bottle it and label it. Now, oh my God, you can take a 6-pack of cocktails home for the weekend. That's beautiful, both for the bar and for you. So I think we learned so much this past year. I think there's a lot of opportunity to take advantage of. And I think those are the kind of moments, bottled cocktails, to-go dishes, maybe only a to-go menu, where unique flavors can be introduced and you can have a lot of fun there.
Thank you so much. And Chef, although we have more questions, I think at this point, I'd just love to hear your final thoughts. Since we have so many questions, hopefully this is a conversation that we can continue through ACF. And we'd just love to hear what you might want to share with the audience before I then give everyone some final messaging.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jackie. First, I want to say thank you for having me. If you want to learn more about Flavor Atlas, how it works or how it can work with you, please visit flavoratlas.com. We can help guide you through a lot of new flavors or see how inspiration works. But there's definitely a lot of cool stuff to learn in the world of flavors. And then I want to say, don't be afraid to do crazy things when it comes to food and flavors, right? That's what we do. If people wanted the same stuff, they'll eat at home. From a bartending side, from a culinary side, let's introduce really fun things. Let's have fun. Let's lose our fear. It's time to get out there and get out there with all the energy that we have. So to all of you, hopefully watching this, thank you for doing what you do. I very much respect and I'm very proud of all of your hard work, and go out there and have fun with food.
Thank you so much, Chef. I love it. I want to see everyone doing fun things. I can't wait to see what the chefs who are tuning in will do with this information. and what dishes it'll spark for the next time that we are dining out. But a huge virtual applause as we thank Chef Jorge. This has been such a fun and insightful presentation, very interesting. I feel very inspired and a little bit thirsty for an ice cold Andalusian sunrise myself. But we appreciate you taking the time to share your culinary insights with the ACF community of culinary professionals today. So please know how much we certainly appreciate that. ACF wants to hear from you, the viewers, so be on the lookout for a survey that you'll receive in the next couple of days. It will thank you for attending, but it will also contain the survey that you need to complete in order to receive 1 hour of ACF CEH. And also let us know if you enjoyed the presentation and the topic so that we can bring you more of what you would like to see. And if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about consumer trends, then join us this Thursday, May 6th, as we learn important insights about consumer dining trends. For more information, for culinary news, or to register for upcoming webinars, please check out our website, wearechefs.com. And on behalf of the ACF and ACF National Office, thank you again, Chef Jorge, for the opportunity, and thank all of you for joining us today. We'll see you soon at ACF National Convention this summer in Orlando.